Happening? What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, good maybe different day than me, whatever's going on where you're at. Because it's different. It is different. I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody is feeling it. It's Wednesday. Some people call this hump day for whatever reason. And I know why. But for us, this is our Thursday because we don't do a show on Fridays. So this is, I guess the hump day thing does not apply. Hi, Anna. How are you? I hope all is well. Yeah. What's up, DLJ? What's up, Karen? I hope everyone is great. Apologies again for yesterday. Jesus, you got the notice. That's huge. What's up, Adingo? What's up, Matthew? What's up, Emberg? What's up, Chris? Chris says 15% of Indiana voters were just purged from the polls, including me. Oh, jeez. Let's see. What's up, Environmental Canadian? What's up, Daniel? What's up, Selma? What's up, Boiled Rope? What's up, Inks Pixels? What's up, Andrea? What's up, Frederick? Good morning, everybody. What's up, Long Beach? Good to see you. Good to see everybody. All right, here we go. We're going to jump right into it because we have a lot of catching up to do because we missed yesterday. Well, yesterday I streamed in the evening. I don't know if y'all caught it, but I did stream in the evening. I just did one segment because it was like I wanted to do the one segment that I felt was really time sensitive. So I did it, and that was it. And yesterday I had a personal emergency that I needed to attend to. Basically, my fiance's car broke down, and she was kind of stranded on the highway. I'm the AAA member. She isn't. So she said, just scan your picture and it'll all be fine. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it takes more than that. But she was like, no, that's all it takes. Because when she called me and she told me, I was like, should I cancel the show for today? Do you need help? Because this was literally like 5 minutes before the show was supposed to start. And I was like, look, I can cancel the show. Just let me tweet, and I can come help you out. Your car's broken down. We got to fix this. And she was like, no, just send me a picture of your AAA card, and that's all it takes. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not all it takes. I'm pretty sure, like, I have to talk on the phone. I have to be there. They have to scan some stuff. But she was like, no, that's all it takes. Go do your show. Have a good time. And I was like, all right. So I started the show, and then I was getting some text messages that I couldn't read them all in real time, but that was not the case. Turns out I was kind of right there, and she needed more assistance. So I had to end the stream abruptly. I had to tweet and explain that I had a personal emergency, and I had to go take care of that. So everything is fine. Everything's totally cool. The car is getting the necessary repairs, and no one got hurt. Everyone's okay. The tow was, she was kind of far out. She was almost at work. So the tow was not the cheapest in the world, but life goes on. No one got hurt. That's the important part. But it was something where I kind of had to drop everything and just run to that. So thank you all for your understanding. Thank you all for your patience. Thank you all for your kind wishes. I don't know if I got to respond to everybody because I had to play catch up the rest of the day when I got, after that happened, once I got home, I had to play catch up on everything else I had to do that day. So I did the best I could. But thank you all for your well wishes. It is immensely appreciated. And there's something I'm going to share at the end pertaining to all this. But let's start the show first. Let's do the show first. So I wanted to go through this yesterday. Margaret Kimberly from the Black Agenda Report shared this with me due to the fact that I'm sharing the campaign to ban facial recognition. And again, you can go to banfacialrecognition.com to sign that petition and to rally your lawmakers to ban facial recognition. It's already happened in 3 cities. It's about to happen in a 4th. Oakland, California has already done it. San Francisco's already done it. Somerville, Mass has already done it. And it looks like Cambridge, Mass is about to get on board. So this is spreading. a little bit at a time. For some reason, Massachusetts and the Bay Area were the early adopters, but this is spreading. And why is it spreading? Well, here are some of those reasons. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let me scroll up to the headline. This is what Margaret Kimberly shared with me of the Black Agenda Report. Check out her work. She was arrested at 14. Then her photo went to a facial recognition database. With very little oversight, the NYPD has been using powerful surveillance technology on photos of children and teenagers. Now, first of all, this technology, which the article goes on to explain, is incredibly faulty. And it's in particularly faulty for several groups of people. First of all, people of color, minorities, Black people, other groups, women, and children. It's inaccurate there more often than anywhere else. And how often is it inaccurate? Well, a controlled study in London revealed that it's inaccurate 98% of the time on average. That's inaccurate 98% of the time. Not to mention, these databases are incredibly susceptible to hacking. They've already been hacked by different, there was a border protection database of travel photos that got hacked. So, gee, I don't know. What could happen if a bunch of our photos with our information gets in the wrong hands? A lot of bad could happen. That's not a good thing. Also, there's nothing to indicate. There's no research to indicate that this type of technology makes us any safer. There's nothing to, so far, all we've seen are abuses of this technology, people researching databases without warrants, without probable cause. People, law enforcement has used these databases to find information on an ex. And you've heard me talk about this, but they're doing it on children a lot, and there's no oversight with this. All right, so let's see what's going on here. The New York Police Department has been loading thousands of arrest photos of children and teenagers into a facial recognition database, despite evidence the technology has a higher risk of false matches in younger faces. Children as young as 11 have been included. Several members of the city council, as well as a range of civil liberties groups, said they were unaware of the policy until they were contacted by the New York Times. Oh, and by the way, Bill de Blasio did know about this. Mayor Bill de Blasio, here we go. Mayor Bill de Blasio had been aware the department was using the technology on minors, said Freddie Goldstein, a spokesperson for the mayor. She said the police department followed strict guidelines, sure, in applying the technology, and City Hall monitored the agency's compliance with the policies. I bet. Now, state law does require that arrest photos must be destroyed if the case is resolved in the juvenile's favor, or if the child is found to have committed only a misdemeanor rather than a felony. The photos also must be destroyed if a person reaches age 21 without a criminal record. But we'll see if those rules are actually followed. Gee, I mean, I have a hard time deciding that those rules are for sure being followed when a lot of people didn't even know this was happening. Members of city council didn't even know this was happening. So City Hall was overseeing this thing that some of them didn't even know what's going on. Some of them didn't even know this was happening, but they were overseeing it the whole time. Does that add up to you? No, that doesn't add up to me either. They were overseeing this thing. Don't worry, they're overseeing it. Overseeing what? This thing that they didn't know was happening. I oversee things that I don't know what's happening all the time. I was over. And how far-reaching is facial recognition technology? Well, let's go here next. London could shape the future of facial recognition. What's going on here? On last day, oh, wow, there we go. Yeah, okay, love this. On the last day of January, a few of the shoppers and office workers who hurried through Romford Town Centre in East London, scarves pulled tight against the chill, realized they were guinea pigs in a police experiment. Officers sitting in a parked van nearby were watching them on screens, using a new technology that the police hope will radically reduce crime in London: live facial recognition. Camera stationed near the Romford train station picked up every face walking past and matched it to a police watch list of wanted criminals. Successful matches would result in immediate arrest. So imagine something like that here in the United States. I mean, not that it's not messed up anywhere. Of course it is. But imagine something like that in the United States where you can get warrants. I mean, there's certain states where you can get a warrant for your arrest for a drinking ticket, maybe public intoxication. If you don't show up in court or you don't pay a certain amount, there could be a warrant out there and you could just be walking down the street and they arrest you instantly. For the smallest of misdemeanors, you could get arrested instantly. That could happen with something like live facial recognition. And again, a homicide detective came out. He's like, this does not keep us safer. This does not help us identify the bad guy better because this technology is so faulty. All it's doing is storing all of this data that can then be hacked, that can then lead to mismatches, which could lead to wrongful accusations, wrongful arrests. It infringes on our right to privacy and infringes on our civil liberties. And for what? For incredibly faulty software that's not going to keep us any safer? I mean, I get it. We always have that battle of, gee, how much privacy do we sacrifice in the name of safety? And is the cost worth the benefit? In the case of facial recognition, the answer is a resounding no. What's the cost? Our information could potentially be hacked. It could be overreached by ICE and law enforcement, and it already has been abused by both of those institutions. It infringes on our civil liberties. It's an incredible overreach. What's the benefit? Absolutely nothing. That we can watch this technology be abused, and it mismatches most of the time. So there's no benefit at all. There's only cost. There's literally no benefit to this. And it needs to be banned. So they have live facial recognition going on in London. And guess what? They're trying to do that in the private sphere to an extent here in the US via Ring and Amazon, which by the way, another little fun piece of the puzzle here. The private entities that are developing this software, Amazon, Microsoft, are among those in Silicon Valley participating. They can also sell this to private companies who can do whatever they want with it. There's no oversight. And now Ring, which is the doorbell service that films people coming to the door for customers, Ring is in cooperation with 200 law enforcement agencies. And what happens there is the police encourage people to give up all of their footage. Let the police have access to your footage so they can catch bad guys. Here's a little Twitter thread I want to share. Fight for the Future, full disclaimer, that's an organization that I collaborate with. We did a campaign on net neutrality together, and I'm working with them on this campaign to ban facial recognition. Ring is going out of their way to go around the law. They are using the police as their own sales force. Amazon and law enforcement as besties is not good for our democracy. So Ring actually responded to this, and look at those ratios. Good ratio, Ring. Hey there, no user data or even the existence of a camera at a specific location is shared without the prior consent of the device owner. Law enforcement can only see posts that users share publicly. Okay, so that's just a total red herring, first of all. All right. Police can use Ring to conduct dragnet searches by requesting footage from large numbers of camera owners in a certain area. That circumvents the types of democratic conversations we should be having before covering our cities and cameras. All right. For more information regarding our partnership with law enforcement, please read our press release that sugarcoats it. We're not seeing a list of the cities where you have partnerships with police. Will you make the list public, please? All right. We're not going to DM you because these conversations should be happening publicly. That's the whole point. If you're so proud of these partnerships with police, why not publish a complete list of the cities where those partnerships exist and all documents related to them? All right. So basically what's happening here, Fight for the Future is raising the concern that, hey, you guys are partnering up with law enforcement. You're encouraging them to tell customers to release all of their footage, which means you're basically going to have camera surveillance of entire areas of people. And you can just do whatever you want with it. That's not okay. Ring saying, oh, we don't do anything without consent from people. Yeah, exactly. But we're saying you pressure them into the consent, and it's misleading. That's what Fight for the Future is saying. Ring has no response to that. They have literally no response. And then they say law enforcement can only see posts that users share publicly. That's just a total straw man and distraction. And what that's attempting to do is it's attempting to deflect the blame onto consumers. Oh, no, the only reason there's anything out there is because they share it publicly. That's not true. What you do is you have law enforcement pressure people into giving up this footage. And then they say, oh, no, here's our press release. Let's go further into the tweet here. Here's our press release about our relationship with law enforcement. And then Fight for the Future says, we don't even see a list of the cities, and we're not going to DM you because they should be publicly. Now, is it nice to see Fight for the Future dunk on Ring? Of course. But the fact remains, Ring is doing this. This is dangerous. This is completely undemocratic. This goes against all the values we're supposed to hold dear as Americans, our right to privacy, our right to civil liberties. These are supposed to be American values. Meanwhile, we're letting private companies experiment with facial recognition technology, give it to other private companies, and let law enforcement and ICE do what they will with it. This needs to be banned. Regulation's not enough. It needs to be banned. Once again, go to banfacialrecognition.com, sign that petition. Again, and I'll show it right now. You can go here, and you can sign the petition. Banfacialrecognition.com, sign the petition. Tell your lawmakers that this needs to be banned. Join the 3 cities. I'm hoping Los Angeles can be next. I'm really hoping Los Angeles can be next. All right. So moving on up in the world, right? Sure. All right. David shares this. This is interesting. So this is going to take us to Russia, by the way. We are going to Russia. We are going to the motherland of Russia. And here we go. All right. Fears of Chernobyl on ice as Russia prepares floating nuclear plant. Skepticism and safety concerns persist before the vessel begins the 4,000-mile Arctic journey. So let's see. Russia is planning to dispatch the vessel, its first floating nuclear power station, on a 4,000-mile journey along the Northern Sea Route, in a milestone for the country's growing use of nuclear power and its plans for Arctic expansion. If all goes to plan, the academic Lomonosov will be towed to the Arctic port of Pevek this month, where it will use its twin nuclear reactors to provide heat and energy to homes and support mining and drilling operations in Russia's mineral-rich Chakoita region. Russia claims the project will provide clean energy to the remote region and allow authorities to retire an aging nuclear plant and a coal-burning power station. The Northern Sea Route, shipping lanes opened by melting ice sheets in the Arctic, presents new trade routes between China and Europe that Russia hopes to make navigable year-round. So, and drilling is involved here. There's going to be drilling involved. Now, they're really doing this because of climate change. See, what's going to happen here, and I had a friend of mine who's a scientist. I actually had this conversation yesterday. I had a conversation with a close friend of mine who is a scientist and one of the smartest people I know. He's a biology professor. And he told me, he was like, look, man, because I always ask him, I'm like, how screwed are we? And he always says pretty screwed. And I'm like, not the answer I wanted. See, what's really happening is we had some news to share with each other. The news he shared with me, he's expecting a child. So when he told me that, first I said, congratulations. And we did the talk you have. And then I said, hey, man, so you're breeding, you're making a person. Does that mean we're going to be okay? Does that mean you're making a person? And he laughed and he said, I don't know, dude, probably not. I was like, what? But you're making, and he's like, look, dude, all organisms on Earth, our goal is to make more of ourselves, everything from bacteria to humans. So, I can't necessarily deny that sort of natural thing. He's like, having a child is not a logical decision. It's a biological decision. My wife wanted a baby. What can I say? And I'm like, does that... Man, that's... And he's right. I mean, everything he said is 100% right. But he said it's not a logical decision. It's a biological decision. And it's not rational. But he's having a kid, and I was just like, well, dude, how, come on, you have to have some hope that we're going to adapt. And he's like, I do, And what he said was that, first of all, we started going down a certain path in the 80s. We could have gone in a good direction. We chose not to. When Carter was president, they were trying to get way more fuel-efficient vehicles, eventually get us off fossil fuels, and that all got reversed in the complete other direction. So there's still time for us to do something. But whether we're going to or not, well, I guess we just got to wait and see, and we talk about that. But here's why I bring this all up. He said to me, you know, some of the best places to live in the future are going to be Canada and Russia. And he said Russia in particular, because all these resources in this Arctic area, which is where this ship is going, that's all going to be accessible. I mean, the article itself even said, because of the melting ice sheets, this is now a viable ship route. So Russia's already tapping in on this. They want to get all of these resources. They want to foster drilling operations, have energy solutions, because all of these resources are going to be there and the weather's going to shift. It's going to be warmer. So that's really what this is all about. This is about the changing climate, and Russia is prepared for it because they know all the resources they're sitting on that as the ice continues to melt, they have more and more access to. And I'm sure there's a lot of dangers associated with this. I'm sure, I mean, as the climate changes, I don't think we quite know everything yet. I don't think we know the extent of how safe or not safe this is, or how good or bad of a decision this is. I mean, the fact that drilling involves, the fact that drilling is involved, that definitely makes me think there's a certain element of danger to this. They're saying it's clean energy. Is it actually? Well, let's see what the article says. Let's see if there's anything more to dive into here. No pun intended. Dive into. See what I did there? So Greenpeace is against this. Greenpeace described the project as a nuclear Titanic, a Chernobyl on ice. So basically they're saying, with everything that's going on in the climate, we don't know how safe this is. So they're saying it's too safe. The Bellona Foundation, which covers environmental issues in the Arctic region, theorized in a 2011 report that waves from a tsunami could throw the nuclear power plant away from its water source on shore, leading to a nuclear accident with grave consequences. Interesting. Now, I guess Russia responds saying that this is a milestone. So it looks like the general consensus is that given the changing climate, given all of the kind of things that work along this water path, this is way too dangerous right now. This is way too dangerous. But Russia is preparing for the changing climate. That's what's happening here. Wow. So we'll keep an eye on this. I mean, right now, this is just something that we know is going to happen, and something that we know could have some very catastrophic consequences should something go wrong. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but if a nuclear plant, a floating nuclear plant, were to capsize, that sounds really, 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 really freaking bad. That sounds pretty. I'm going to call my buddy right now. I'm going to be like, hey, if a moving nuclear thing capsizes, that's going to be bad, right? But it'll be kind of okay because you're having a kid, right? Like, you're having a kid. We're all going to be, my scientist friend is having a kid. I feel like we have to maintain a little optimism that we're going to be okay. But when you think about floating nuclear plants, because the ice is melting, so certain countries are going to have better access to resources, which, man, isn't that quite a lesson in unrelented capitalism worldwide, just rugged neoliberalism around the world? Hey, the ice sheets are melting. What an economic opportunity for us. We can tap into this. We can have good economic opportunity. And I'm not singling out Russia. The U.S. does the same thing. Countries all over the world do the same thing. Oligarchs got to oligarchs. Oligarchs are around the world. They know no countries. You get the idea. Certainly not singling out Russia here. But this is a pretty gnarly thing that could have some very dire consequences. All right, man. Okay. Thank you for that, David. All right. I'm going to go here next. And some of y'all might disagree with me on this one, and that's okay. But I wanted to share this. So This is something that Kristen Gillibrand shared. Now, I'm not a Kristen Gillibrand fan, but this is a topic I wanted to talk about.
Everyone needs 130,000 people to donate.
Here we go. Start from.
Hi everyone, Henry Gillibrand here. I'm going to try to explain the Democratic debates in 30 seconds or less. Here's how it works. To qualify for the debates in the fall, everyone needs 130,000 people to donate to their campaigns. The deadline to get that done is August 28th, which is coming up really soon. My mom doesn't have 130,000 people yet, so that's where you come in. Everyone who gives an amount even $1 or $5 gets us closer to 130,000. And so you can see my mom on the debate stage, and she can tell you how she's going to be the best president ever.
So here's why I bring this up. I've felt this way for a while now. And I feel this way regardless who the candidate is, even if it's somebody I like. I'm not a fan of Kristen Gillibrand. I don't think she'd be a good president. But, I'm talking more of a theme here. I am incredibly opposed. I just think it's so wrong when candidates use their children in political advertisements. I think that's so wrong. I think that is you're putting them in a position that they should not have to be equipped to handle, that I don't think they are equipped to handle in many cases. You're just pushing them into an arena that they do not deserve to be in yet. Now, let me make a few distinctions here, because this is an issue that has a barrier of complexity. So when I say this, I don't mean, say a kid's interested in a cause. That's a good thing. That should be encouraged. Say, if, what was the kid's name? Henry or something like that? Yeah, Henry. So, and by the way, and I responded to this, by the way. We can go to that. So here's what I said on Twitter. I do and always have feel that it's a special brand of repulsive when politicians use their children in their advertisements for a number of reasons. This is disgusting. Henry doesn't deserve this. Neither does any other politician's kid. And the reason I feel that way is because, again, this is the political arena they're being pushed into, a campaign of candidates that they're just not equipped to deal with yet. Now, that's a lot different. Say Henry came home from school and he said, "Hey, Mom, I was learning about global warming. I was learning about climate change. I want to write my congressperson. I want to participate in this climate march for people my age. There's the youth action for climate change. I want to participate in that." That's a lot different, because that's a cause. That's like an initiative and a cause. That's not something pertaining to a particular candidate. When it pertains to a particular candidate, it's very caustic and very hostile, and politics has a very ugly underbelly, and we're all aware of this. And you're throwing your child into that when you know about it. I mean, Kristen Gillibrand, she's been around long enough. She knows how ugly politics is. You're throwing your child into that, and you're forcing them to then deal with that. And they're not equipped or ready to deal with something like that. Now, if they're an adult, that's totally different. That's totally different. If Chelsea Clinton wants to write horrible books with her mom, she's an adult. She's making a conscious decision. So when I say politicians' children, I mean actually children, not their grown children. When they're grown up, they can do whatever they want. They're responsible for their own decisions. But Henry is a kid at this point, and he's being thrown into this. He does not deserve that. Neither does any other politician's kid. Now, some people, they say, well, he wanted to. He's proud of his mom. That's great that he's proud of his mom. He should be. Good for him. But he wanted to. He very well may have. I have no idea if the child was forced into doing this or not. I have no clue. He very well may have wanted to do this. Maybe it was even his idea. I kind of doubt that. I doubt it was his idea, but maybe it was. I have no clue. So if you're a parent, one of your jobs, and it's a big job and it's an important job, and I'm sure it's not always a fun job, but it's your job as a parent nonetheless. One of your jobs is to say no sometimes, is to say, no, you can't do this. I'm sure Henry can't just do whatever the hell he wants whenever he wants to. I'm sure if Henry decides, hey, I'm not going to go to school today, I'm just gonna make an ice cream sundae and watch TV all day. I'm sure they're not. Oh well, Henry wanted to do this, so I guess we got to let him. I'd imagine that's not the case in Henry's case, and most children. That's not. You don't just let them do whatever the hell they want. So what you do is you say, hey, I appreciate that, and I'm really happy that you're proud of my campaign, but I need you to support me in other ways. That's not something you should do. This is a very politics is a very ugly game, and I don't want to drag you into it. That's not fair to you, and you might not realize that yet, but trust me on this, it's not fair to you. And you explain that to them. You explain that to them. And Henry would probably say, okay. And someday, Henry might run for office on his own. Maybe he will. And I bet you, if and when Henry runs for office someday, in the hypothetical I just described, which obviously did not happen, Kristen Gillibrand was happy to use her own kid to pander for money. But in the hypothetical that would have happened, I bet you, if any politician's kid said, hey, I want to do this, and the politician said, you know what, that's not the right thing to do. I appreciate that, but you got to help in other ways. You help by being a good kid. That's how you help. You help by being good company. You help by doing your homework. You help by getting good grades, whatever. You help by being a good kid. That's how you're helping me. But no, I'm not gonna put you in a commercial. That's not right. I bet you, if that kid ran for office one day and they went through that experience, they would say, man, when I was a kid, I didn't understand why my mom or dad said, no, you can't be in a commercial for my campaign. Why you can't be in a political advertisement. I didn't understand why they told me no for that. But I get it now. I bet you that would be the response, because they would see how caustic and ugly these things are. And they would say, yeah, that's a child shouldn't have to be exposed to that at such a young age. That shouldn't happen. So I think that's wrong. No matter who the politician is, I think that's wrong on every level. I think it's disgusting, and especially in our modern technological day and age, where people say whatever. And if you think people on the internet are going to express restraint just because it's a child, you don't spend enough time on the internet. Or actually, you probably spend more than enough time on the internet, but you're not seeing everything that's there. And some people told me, some people on the Twitter thread said I was overreacting, that was an overreaction on my part. This generation of kids, there are suicides on a regular basis as a result of cyberbullying. And you're putting a kid into a presidential campaign and opening him up for the type of trolling that I'm sure he has already gotten. I'm the one overreacting. That's an overreaction. Saying that something like that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't. And, I don't want to say I know Kristen Gillibrand's intentions. I don't. But this was, at the very least, super negligent, irresponsible parenting. And at the very most, it's selfish and cruel to use your own child to pander for donations. It's selfish and cruel. At most. Because you're running for president. You should know better. You should know what you're doing by dragging a child into something like this. And if you don't know better, well, at the very least, you're being irresponsible. At the very least. So, Kristen Gillibrand, still not a fan. Still not a fan. And let me know what you guys think when I go to the chat. I bet some of you might disagree with me on that one. Some of you might think, no, I think it's totally cool to use your kid to pander for money. Let me know your thoughts. I'm curious to know them. All right. So we got a couple more stories here. I'm going to go here next. So Elizabeth Warren, one of the topics that we talk about a lot on this show is municipal broadband. And what that is, for anyone not in the know, municipal broadband is just city-owned public internet across the country. Some cities already have city-owned public internet. They experience the best internet in the country at a reasonable price. Look at Chattanooga, Tennessee. Well, universal broadband is becoming a topic of conversation amidst some of the 2020 nominees. And today, Elizabeth Warren said something about municipal broadband and universal broadband. So let's see what's going on. Elizabeth Warren proposes a public option for the internet. The White House contender wants to make sure every U.S. home has a fiber broadband connection at an affordable cost. Senator Elizabeth Warren announced a plan Wednesday to create a public option for the internet, aiming to ensure universal broadband access. Warren, who's seeking the Democratic presidential nomination, unveiled the policy at the start of a 4-day tour across Iowa. As part of a broader package of reform she calls her plan to invest in rural America. So here's the thing. If this investment is limited to rural areas, it is not a genuine broadband investment. Here's why I say this. I'm not saying rural areas aren't important. They are. But you've seen the Democratic Party a lot talk about rural broadband. They don't talk about broadband everywhere. They don't talk about city-owned internet everywhere to compete with big cable. They talk about rural broadband specifically. Why do they do that? It's not just because, oh, those areas are underserved. It's because big cable doesn't want to invest there. Comcast, AT&T, they look at an area and they decide, do we want to build here or don't we? If they think they can't make enough money, guess what? They don't build there. End of story. So Democrats, and it's mostly Democrats that do this, can say, oh, we're going to invest in rural broadband. See, we care about connectivity. And we're doing it in a way that's not going to tick off big cable because we take a lot of money from them. So when you see rural broadband right away, that should raise a red flag. And when I say that, I'm not implying that rural broadband isn't important. I'm just saying it's a buzzword and it's a deflection from the universal broadband that we need all across the country. All right, so let's continue with this article. So to enact her plan, Warren hopes to first pass a federal law preventing state-level restrictions that have hampered municipalities that want to pursue a public internet system. That is good. That is good. Now, again, when we talk about municipal broadband, one of the things that we've mentioned, there have been a lot of roadblocks because big cable they've known there's going to be a day where cities are going to want to build their own internet infrastructure because big cable knew we're going to offer crappy internet and we're going to price gouge the crap out of people. That's what we're going to do. That's our business model because we're only concerned about profit. So Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, they all knew someday people are going to be like, let's just build our own internet infrastructure. These other cities have done it and they get the best internet at a reasonable price. We got to get in on this. So they put a bunch of red tape in place and contracts that they signed so that municipalities can't do that. So Elizabeth Warren, right, in this, for instance, of course, she's saying it this week. We'll see what she says next week. She's saying that she's going to get some laws to overturn that. And that's a good thing. So that way people can have a public internet system. She would then create an $85 billion federal grant program to shoulder 90% of the cost for utility cooperatives, nonprofits, cities, counties, and Native American tribes interested in laying the fiber needed to bring broadband, contemporary high-speed internet to the mostly rural regions that do not currently have it. Well, okay, but all of this is important too. The entities applying for the money, for-profit utilities, are notably ineligible, would have to agree to serve as internet service providers for the residents they serve, offering at least one high-speed plan and one plan affordable for low-income people. All right, so this is a good thing. This is a good thing that they're talking about this. And you know what? It means that the movement we're a part of, this show, is a municipal broadband net neutrality-based show. And by the way, she also mentions net neutrality there. She's going to reinstate net neutrality too. Let me go ahead and highlight that part for you. And they bring up Chattanooga, Tennessee. I know she said that she would reinstate net neutrality, and now I can't find. Okay, here we go. She would appoint FCC commissioners committed to restoring net neutrality. All right, so that was that was a lot of scrolling for a low payoff there. I apologize, but all right. So Elizabeth Warren is proposing this. This is a good thing. This means that the campaign for universal broadband, of which we are a part of, is picking up steam. And it's thanks to shows like this that talk about it. Shows like the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, the Community Broadband Nets podcast, Next Century Cities, net neutrality advocates, free press, fight for the future, demand progress. Everybody who's been holding the front lines on net neutrality, the Center for Media Justice. This is thanks to people like Ralph in Louisville, Kentucky. They're meeting with their mayor and their city council people to get a municipal broadband project in Louisville. People who are doing the same thing in Florida who have emailed me. People who are pursuing it in Colorado. Longmont, Colorado just got it. Fort Collins is working on it. Chris over in Indianapolis, who's trying to get his local DSA branch on board with municipal broadband. The folks who talked to me in Fort Worth, Texas, who said that they're going to go to a city hall meeting for municipal broadband. And all the people who've emailed me. I know I'm not remembering everybody, and some of you, I forgot your name. If I forgot your name, email me, and in the subject line, put douchebag, you forgot my name, and remind me, hey, Ron, I'm the person in Fort Worth that's working on municipal broadband. Hey, Ron, I'm the person in Coral Springs, Florida, who's working on municipal broadband. Remind me. Can't remember it all off the top of my head. So this means that movement is working. And interestingly enough, Liz Warren is the first person. Hey, Lucy, look who's here. See? Everybody gets excited about municipal broadband. And by the way, in response to this hitting the news today, I got to give a shout out to Carl, who tweeted this. Thank you, Carl, for this shout out. Here's what Carl had to say. Why are people pretending Warren is some sort of visionary for proposing public internet? Ron Placone has been talking about this for over a year. I've been telling people in my community about it for over a year. It's good policy, but she's not a prophet for proposing it. Caleb, excuse me. I said Carl because I saw Carl and real quick there, but I meant Caleb. Caleb, thank you for that. Thank you for that shout out, Caleb. I appreciate it very much. And again, shows like this, and there's other shows as well. People have been really sounding the alarm about this issue, and powerful people are noticing. People are noticing. And Liz Warren, to her credit, is the first 2020 nominee to mention universal broadband. Or is she? Wait a second. Is she? Gee, I don't know. Again, this show has been talking about municipal broadband for a while. We're going to plug. Is there somebody else who maybe talked about it first? Let's find out. Oh, what's the title of that? Bernie calls for universal broadband internet. What's the date on that? May 11th, 2019. So it looks like Bernie did it first. That's something from this show. Bernie calls for universal broadband internet. So I'm glad Liz Warren is talking about this. I'm glad, but Bernie talked about it first. Here, let's check it out.
That right into the port, and through the sensor, it's
in from agriculture, Sanders' rural public education programs, and increasing rural teacher pay. Also a great plan. Here's the really big part. All right, what's the big part? Big. They're all really important, but here's the part that kind of just caught my attention. Keep going. This presenter sucks. My interest in, what is wrong with this guy? My cause of choice. Get to the point. Plan calls for universal broadband and doubles down on his recently introduced legislation that would increase funding for community health centers. Universal broadband. Stop stumbling over your words. What's wrong with this guy? Who is this presenter? That's a big one. So what is universal broadband? Universal broadband means we would have municipal broadband all across the freaking country. We would have publicly owned internet all across the country. This is one ugly dude. Man, I hate to be in his plan. I hate to be superficial here. This is the ugliest guy I've ever seen. Nominee that, to my knowledge, that has that in his plan. And he's really addressing the big fundamental problems that I mean, first of all, our food. All right, that's enough. This poor guy. I applaud his effort for municipal broadband, but what an ugly dude. Jesus. So Bernie did it first. I'm glad Liz Warren is talking about this. We'll see how she feels next week. But this is good. And I hope that we see a little more consistency in her. But it's good. And it's a result of grassroots efforts around the country for municipal broadband. It's the result of states putting forth net neutrality bills to fight for net neutrality. It's the result of grassroots organizations and shows all over the country. So to everybody who has emailed me saying, Ron, I'm showing up to a city hall meeting to talk about municipal broadband, thank you. Thank you. And if anybody ever tells you that that's a fruitless endeavor, you point to this. You point to the fact that shows like this have been acting on this issue and have been going to city hall meetings, have been proposing. I've emailed my script out to anyone who's asked. And a lot of you have made more progress than I have. I haven't gotten a lot of support from my city government in Pasadena. And I don't think it's because they're against it per se. I think it's just, we haven't gotten the right messaging across yet. And it's up to me to work on that. But it's because of grassroots initiatives from this show and elsewhere that this happened, that Liz Warren's talking about this. She wouldn't be talking about it otherwise. So that's huge. That's huge. So whenever someone says that, acting locally is ineffective, clearly it's not. Clearly it's not ineffective because 2020 candidates are running on it now. They're running on it because people all across the country showed up at City Hall. Because grassroots organizations all across the country demanded net neutrality. And a bunch of us in June showed up to Mitch McConnell's office with a handful of 3.5 million petitions for net neutrality. So this is a good sign. Hopefully it's a sign of more to come. And thank you to everyone who showed up to a meeting and who's participated in this issue. Hopefully I get a victory story in Pasadena at some point. So Christina shares this. Thank you, Christina. A stitch in time, how craftivists found their radical voice. If street protests were too shouty, craftivism, interesting, may offer an alternative and still powerful means of political expression. Craftivism is like punk, so says Sarah Corbett, so gently and rationally that if you squint at her workshop of women peacefully stitching dream clouds in a Devon studio, you might try to summit the spirit of the Sex Pistols at Free Trade Hall. You just might. The Sex Pistols, who now, by the way, have a credit card. Anyway, what else is going on here? So this is all about craftivism in the form of knitting. All right, so let's look at some of the things they highlight here. In April 2015, Corbett and her Craftivist collective Googled the hell out of each of M&S's board members to make them personalized hand-embroidered handkerchiefs. The group presented them as individual gifts at the company's annual meeting. And why did they do this? They did this to convince Mark and Spencer to pay employees a living wage. And they also did different things to protect migrating birds from dredging in Spain. And they made them all handkerchiefs, and they sewed on hopeful messages. All right, so here's what Corbett, the person who's behind this, here's what she has to say about it, Sarah Corbett. Punk means different bands to different people in the same way craftivism does. And my approach is not aggressive or loud. It's a gentle protest. And I mean that in a non-fluffy sense. It's not impassive or weak. It's bloody hard to be gentle in your approach as an activist, to have self-control when you're angry. It's about being tough of mind and kind in heart. You know what? I got to say, one time I was heckled at a comedy show, and I responded to the person. And it turns out they were knitting. So it was at this like kind of like folky open mic, right? This was years and years ago. It was at this this folky open mic, and as a result, it would not be that uncommon for somebody to be knitting in the audience. Like, it's not like this was at a comedy club or something like that. So anyway, I'm doing my set, and this person makes a comment, and I kind of call them out. We have a little bit of a back and forth. It wasn't mean or hostile. It was fun. But, the person kind of, so then they felt a little embarrassed. So they handed me what they were knitting, and I got a new scarf out of the deal. And I got to say, that person completely won me over. I forgot all about the heckling and was more focused on the lovely new scarf that I had. This was when I lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So a scarf went a long way. I wore that scarf all the time. Me and that person became buddies. We would see each other because I went to this open mic every Monday for years in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was the Acoustic Cafe open mic at Club Cafe. I believe that open mic now takes place at a different venue, but it's not important. But shout out to all my Pittsburgh friends. But anyway, and obviously at a show like this, we're all about using art in protest. So in this case, it's Sarah Corbett is great at knitting, so she has a collective committed to activism through knitting. Say that 5 times fast. Committed to activism through knitting. 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 Committed to. I fucked it up a couple times. All right. Anyway, so good for them. And Christina, thank you for sharing this. It's nice to have some uplifting news. They've helped people get living wages. They've helped migrating birds in Spain, and I hope they help some other things as well. Good for them. All right. Let's move on. So Edwin shares this. This is going to be our last story of the day before I go to you guys. Edwin knows that I am a hockey fan, and in particular, Edwin knows that I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. I'm from Pittsburgh. Just mentioned Pittsburgh. That's my hometown. And so he wanted me to know that today is Sidney Crosby's birthday, the captain of the Penguins. I didn't know today was Sidney Crosby's birthday. I'm not I'm a hockey fan. I guess I'm not that big of a fan that I know the players' birthdays or anything like that. But happy birthday, Sidney Crosby. Here we go. Sidney Crosby, 32 years old. I remember when Sidney Crosby was first drafted when he was 18. I remember that because I was a kid as well. I was living in Pittsburgh at the time. And they basically said, we have a superstar. He's going to change this team. And he did. Here's a quick rundown of the modest accomplishments of Sidney Crosby, 3-time Stanley Cup winner, 2 times Conn Smythe Trophy winner, 2 times Hart Trophy winner, 8 times NHL All-Star. I'm not going to read all of them, but you get the idea here. World Cup of Hockey gold medal winner in 2016. That was an amazing game, by the way. I think that was the game. Was that the game where Canada beat the U.S.? No. That was this one. That was 2010. He scored the golden goal for Canada in 2010 in the Olympic gold medal game. That was such a beautiful game. And I got to be honest, I was kind of rooting for Sidney in that case. So I was actually kind of rooting for Canada over the U.S. I mean, it was so hard not to celebrate when Sidney Crosby scored that goal and Canada won that game. So, yeah, I was I guess I wasn't really rooting for, like, I was just enjoying the game. But I couldn't help but be really happy when Sidney got that goal and Canada won that game. It was really cool to see. Anyway, so Sidney Crosby, it's his birthday. All my fellow hockey fans out there, hold tight. The season's coming. It's going to be soon. I need to re-up my membership for the NHL. That's the one thing. I don't have cable. So what I do is I buy myself an NHL membership. And that is something I do. So happy birthday, Sidney Crosby. And let me go to the chat and see what you guys are saying. All right. I hope everyone is having a good day, by the way. And by the way, shout out to our sponsors, ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their T kind of rules. Balthazar, thank you very much for the super chat contribution. Facial recognition is like the opposite of Streamlabs or alternatives. Ron checked it out. It has no cost, no benefits. That's facial recognition. If only we had municipal broadband and cellular with net neutrality and Fourth Amendment. Amen to that, Balthazar. And I know I do need to check out Streamlabs. Let's see. Max D, thank you for the super chat contribution. Tulsi, most Googled candidate after debates. Yep, we covered that. Polling at 1%, WTF. It's almost as if the polls are totally bogus. As if. That's a crazy notion, Max D. You really think the polls are... What about the ones that are exclusive to landlines? And All right. Cool. A1 and A2, I heard a story about the band L7. The bassist pulled out her tampon on stage and threw it at the crowd. Didn't that happen at a Nirvana show years ago? I think that happened at a Nirvana show like a long, long time ago. Is that what you're referring to? Let's see. Tom Myers, has the U.S. ever beaten Canada? I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. Moose Gal, did Fred Roger? Oh, that was the lady, not me. Right on. All right, guys, we are totally out of time. Tour dates, I got them. September, I'm going to the upper Midwest. I don't say Northern Plains anymore. You guys got me out of that bad habit. I'm going to the upper Midwest in September. September 4th, Omaha, Nebraska. September 5th, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. September 6th, Madison, Wisconsin. September 7th, Minneapolis, Minnesota. September 8th, Iowa City, Iowa. Get your tickets now at ronplacone.com. November, we're coming to Australia. Tickets are available now for Perth and Adelaide. Tickets are going to be available real soon for Melbourne and Sydney, so hold tight on that. But Australia, we're coming. As soon as tickets are available, they'll be up at ronplacone.com. Local LA folks, this Friday is Politics Night at the Dojo. Politics Night at the Dojo is happening at the Sycamore Tavern near Sunset and Sycamore. There's free parking. That's happening this Friday at 7 p.m. We usually start at 8. We have to start at 7 this month only. So 7 p.m., August 9th, Sycamore Tavern, free parking. And if you email me, go to ronplacone.com, email me there. I'll put you on the guest list. Email me, say you heard it on Get Your News On with Ron, and I'll put you on the guest list so you get free admission to that show. What a deal, right? Speaking of which, if you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/ronplacone. For you give what you can level. You help me expand this show. You help me build it. And I want this to be a full-time endeavor. I'm close, but I need your help. All right? You get the drill. Patreon.com/ronplacone. Give what you can level. Goes a long way. And you get all kinds of perks. You get all kinds of exclusive content. You get dialogues between myself and Lucy. You get full stand-up clips not available to the public, and you get my album. You just get my album. It's just there. You get to download it. My album's just right there. Boom. Pretty cool, right? Yeah. All right. Patreon.com/ronplacone. Plus, YouTube demonetizes me constantly. All right. Me and everybody else. Guys, we have an interview in a little bit at 11:30 Pacific time, 2:30 Eastern time. I'm going to be interviewing Stephen Blum. He is a text expert. He's really good at texting. He's like the best texter ever, and I'm interviewing him. He is a tech expert who focuses on municipal broadband and net neutrality. So we're going to be talking about Liz Warren coming out for universal broadband and what we can do here in California specifically and around the country. So that's coming up in about a half hour. I'll see you all there. And if not, I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific time for Get Your News On with Ron. Thank you for all the stories. Thank you for being so understanding about yesterday. I appreciate it. You know the drill in the meantime. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.